Hello everyone, Ivan Ottinger from EnglishTheSmartWay.com here. I'm really happy to be able to share with you a new episode of English the Smart Way podcast. Today we are having a very special guest. His real name is Jason R. Levine, but his students of English language probably know him better as Fluency MC. Jason hasn't been English teacher for whole of his life. He's started his career as a DJ and then transitioned into this completely new teaching path. Basically, Jase connected his passion for music and rap with English teaching. So as you will hear on the interview, Jase doesn't rely on traditional teaching methods only, but instead he developed his own approach to help his students acquire English fluency. These days, Jase is not just an English teacher, but also a successful teacher trainer, so-called knowledge entertainer, and creator of the English workout method, which you will learn more about on the interview. Jase has also taught English and given workshops in 14 countries over the past 18 years, taught people of all ages and cultures, from children and teenagers to university students and executives of international companies. He's currently doing so-called Rhyme on Time student workshops at schools across Europe. Jase also coaches and trains non-native English speaker teachers online and at schools worldwide. So, without further ado, here is Jase from Fluency MC. Enjoy! So, hello Jase and welcome to the show.
Hi, Ivan. Great to be here.
Tell us a bit about you. How did you get to English teaching?
Let's see. I was in New York City, and I'm working a bit in the music business. I had left graduate school where I was doing a doctorate in psychology, and I decided I didn't want to do that. I wasn't sure what I wanted to do. I was interested definitely in education, and I had been for a while. And my cousin got me a job teaching a group of adults, young adults mainly, from Central and South America, English in Brooklyn. And I liked it immediately, so I kept going from there.
So you started teaching adults, yeah, English?
Yes, yeah, adolescents and adults. And that's mainly since then, and this is back in 1998, 1997, 1998. Since then, I've taught different ages, but mainly adolescents and adults.
Oh yeah, and so you mentioned that so you did a PhD in psychology, right?
I was in a PhD program, but not for very long. No, I
all right.
So no,
But have you? So did you get any experience, like from psychology point of view, into teaching English, or it was completely like different?
Oh no, there's a lot of overlap. I mean, when I was in college doing my bachelor's degree in psychology, I was focusing a lot on education, and I was interested particularly in identity development in adolescence. That's what I was planning to focus on in graduate school, and also in college. I took a couple linguistics courses. I was interested in language learning for sure as well.
So some ideas you got from your studies of psychology, you started applying into teaching English, right?
Yeah, and that's, I think, why I got so passionate about language teaching, because I realized it was this wonderful window into all these things I'd already been interested in, how young people learn and how it affects their identity, and how identity development affects learning. And then I got very interested in second language acquisition. I hadn't studied that before.
I really found interesting that you connected music, rap, and singing with English teaching. And what has inspired you to put all of these together?
I was teaching and training teachers. I was teaching foreign students studying on student visas in New York and New Jersey, coming for short periods, sometimes preparing to apply to universities in the States, and also training teachers from other countries in New York. And a couple of things happened at the same time. One was my students, although they were in the U.S. And taking many hours of English class a week, still were not getting enough exposure to the target language that they wanted to learn and I wanted them to learn, so that they could develop accurate and fluid use of this language. I mean, they were in the States, but they outside of class were not getting enough comprehensible input, and certainly not enough repetitive practice with comprehensible input. In the classroom, we were doing some of this, but it was more the communicative approach of sort of discussing opinions and ideas, which is really interesting. But they weren't getting enough practice, and by that I mean repetitive practice, hearing and reading and repeating the types the language they really needed, for obvious reasons, because that's unnatural and boring in most ways that we try to do this. Then at the same time, I was training teachers how to write their own songs. I was doing a program for teachers from Korea who are interested in using songs in the classroom. So with my students, I realized they needed a way to get repetitive exposure and practice to target language, and songs were a great way to do this. And then training teachers, I discovered that they were less interested in learning how to make their own songs and much more interested in how to use songs that I started making. And I started making the songs for my students because I thought this might be a way to help them get that practice. And the reason for doing it with hip hop is because I grew up with this music. I was a hip hop DJ, and also, chanting. There are chants already out there. Carolyn Graham and others who've made chants for language learning. So chants are it's very similar to rap and hip hop, and so. I'm not a singer. I'm definitely a music guy, but not a singer. And rap is something I knew, and so that's why I did it. And then after starting it with rap, realizing a lot of additional benefits of using rap music so quickly. If you want to ask me about these, we can talk about them. But quickly, those would be the fact that hip hop is more rhythmic than other pop music, so it follows. It's more similar to the natural stress patterns of conversation, oral discourse, more than a melodic pop song, for example. Also, rap music is international, and I was teaching students from countries all around the world, so this was something they all knew and had in common, when there wasn't always so much they had in common, with differences in their cultures and so forth. And finally, hip hop was something they were really curious about, because I was a DJ, and because we were in New York City, in New Jersey, where the culture was so strong. So they liked the first song I wrote, and so I started making more
songs, and then you started uploading them on the internet. And
so I wrote the first song I wrote for my students was Stick Stuck Stuck, a song to learn irregular verbs, and I wrote that, I think, 2007, and then in 2010, so it was 2.5 years later, when I put it up as a video.
Interesting. And you mentioned chants, right? English chants. Could you please tell us more about it? What does it mean? So it's different from rapping, but
well, a chant is really, compared to a song, it's just focusing on the rhythm. The music is it's shorter. The music is not as doesn't play as much of a role as what you're saying, and the word, I guess. I mean, it's sort of somewhere between a poem and a song. So if you're reading a poem that follows a certain rhythmic pattern, and if it has rhyme, then and you're putting a little more music into it, then it's sort of a chant. That's the best way to think about a chant.
Right. Yeah. So after the success with the first song, you started recording more and more songs, yeah, and sharing it with your students.
Yes, and had lucky that to be doing this at a time when I could share them on YouTube and get them out there and find out what people liked and get a wider audience.
Yeah. All right. And so your website says that you are a knowledge entertainer. So it is related to what we were just talking about, right? So you use music, rapping. And could you please maybe tell us, describe how does the lesson with rapping look like?
Well, it looks exactly, I think, like any lesson where you use a song. I mean, I guess in my case, if I'm teaching myself in a classroom, then I'm using my song for whatever reason I'm using it. It could be to introduce vocabulary, grammar, or an idea. It could be to review it. It could be to recycle some things. It could be the main part of the lesson. It could be a smaller part of the lesson. It could be something they're doing at home. So any way that I happen to be the person that's making those songs, but teachers who use my songs would use them the same way they would use any song in the classroom. So to focus on, could be reading practice, writing practice, speaking practice, a combination of everything. Obviously, listening practice, but I don't teach only through songs. I mean, now I do workshops with students, and so the main focus is the songs. But certainly, if I had my own class, I don't anymore. But if I did, I wouldn't be teaching only with music.
Yeah.
I never did. It was always something I did to supplement everything else. And I think that's what most teachers do with songs or videos.
And yeah, so what's the advantage of using, music in general and rapping? Because you mentioned that there is like a pattern and there is some rhythm in it. So how it helps people to, for example, be more fluent and so on.
Well, I think more than there are many advantages of using music, and then some that are maybe more specific to rap. I think number one by far is the fact that if we like a song, we naturally want to repeat it. And this is something that people don't talk about that much because it's something we take for granted. It seems so obvious. But when you think about this as a language teacher or as a language learner, it's really important because almost nothing else is natural to repeat the same way. So, for example, if we really like a movie, we might watch it again, but not the same day.
Oh yeah.
If we really like a magazine article, we're probably not going to read it again. I mean, it's possible. If we really like a song, we listen to it sometimes, immediately after.
Yeah.
So there's really nothing like that. And then when you factor in that songs have rhythm and rhyme, so do poems and stories sometimes, but they don't, unless you're listening to someone tell the story or read the poem. Again, that's not usually so natural. You're not going to get exposed to it for listening skills. Then the rhythm and rhyme serve to help us remember the vocabulary and grammar. So we all know that experience of getting a song stuck in your head and remembering remembering vocabulary and grammar more, whether we don't usually think about it as vocabulary and grammar, but remembering that discourse, that content, much more easily and for longer, sometimes forever, when it's in a song, and that's the power that rhythm and rhyme have for remembering language. And then with hip hop, I mentioned earlier, because it's closer to how we naturally speak in conversation. It's much more rhythmic, not melodic. It just means that, now rap songs that are already out there, like, people that make hip hop music, rap music, this is a little more complicated because they may switch the stress around. They're obviously going to use, vocabulary and grammar structures that may not be what the students need to practice. And this is also was enormously important in motivating me to make songs, was that, hip hop music that was out there, it was interesting for students, to from a cultural perspective, and if they liked it, to try to figure out what it meant. But hip hop English is not the same as general English, and what my students needed to practice was English for tests and university jobs. So pop songs in general and hip hop in particular do not contain the kind of target language that the students really needed to get repetitive practice with. So that's a big reason why I started to write songs, because a textbook might have a song that is closer to what the students need. It's practicing with language from the unit. But in almost every case, my students found those songs childish or boring, usually both. So to sum up, my objective was to make songs with music that students would like, songs they'd naturally want to repeat, that had contextualized the target language they needed in with high frequency collocations, very functional language, in songs that they would want to repeat, and then make videos that they would want to repeat, and using hip hop because that's the music I loved the most and knew the most, but also for the reasons I just mentioned, of how I think it, even more than a pop song, helps promote accuracy and fluency across all four skills.
Oh yeah. So you took the best from the rap music and the songs that are in maybe in textbooks, and you created something new with all the things that were missing from rap music and the textbooks. Songs, for example.
Yeah, that's what inspired me, and I think I'm doing it. I think I can always get better at it. But I think that's my goal.
Yeah, great. I never realized that the songs are such a great material for getting better in English.
Well, when I write a song, I spend a long time focusing on what language to put in the songs. I mean, I'm motivated to write a song starting from, I'm going to write a song about countable and uncountable nouns, or I'm going to write a song about, vocabulary for a business meeting. So that's how I start. So everything comes, so if there are, messages in there or humor, and that comes after. It comes first and foremost from, what is a need the students have for target language they need practice with, and how can I put that in a song so that they're going to get that practice.
Yeah, interesting. And so my question would be, my next question would be, why do you think that so many people have problems acquiring fluency?
It's a great question, and until recently, it was much harder for me to answer, and the reason is not because of something I discovered, but I wrote a blog post a few months ago where I asked colleagues of mine and 34 people in total what they thought was the most important thing to achieve fluency. And so the article is talking about tips for achieving fluency, with the idea being, as you said, that so many people don't achieve it.
Yeah.
And there are many great ideas there, but one that stands out is from a friend and colleague of mine, Chuck Sandys. And Chuck Sandy said, and I quote, "Practice builds accuracy, accuracy builds confidence, and confidence builds fluency." And this moment I read that, everything just connected for me. And it was really exciting to have, that feeling after so many years doing what I'm doing. So it really resonated with me because it's what I'm trying to do. So let me go back. Practice builds accuracy. So, for example, I'll use music. So when you repeat a song many times, then you become more accurate in terms of understanding it, in terms of your pronunciation, in terms of the grammatical accuracy. So, for example, talking the other day about in people my age know, everybody knows this song by Lionel Richie. Hello, is it me you're looking for? Right? So just is it me you're looking for? Most people my age have that sentence. It's a interrogative sentence, a yes/no question with the verb to be. It's the present progressive. It's the verb plus preposition looking for, right? Without thinking about it, you have that forever.
Yeah.
You have that accuracy. And if you're able to sing it or say it quickly, that's fluency. And the reason you're able to use it quickly, to understand it quickly, use it quickly, is because you're confident, because you have the accuracy that comes from the practice.
Yeah.
So it's the exposure and practice that builds the accuracy. And then how do you feel if your English is accurate? You feel confident.
Yeah.
And this does not mean, it's all about being perfect or not making mistakes. It's nothing like this, because all of this needs to be done through pleasure, or you're not going to be motivated. So it's the pleasure of knowing something accurately, of having that, and being then confident to use it. And I noticed this. I'll just tell you a quick story personally. For the first time, when I was focusing my students on learning collocations, which is what my songs are based on. I realized.
Could you please
Sorry?
maybe explain what is a collocation? Because I think many people don't know.
Sure. So, for example, collocation is words that go together with high frequency. They chunk together. So, for example, if I say stop, you might think bus stop or stop smoking or please stop. Like, which words go with stop? And these can be very fixed idioms, or they can just be words we often use, like make breakfast, for example. So those are collocations, and you know them when you've been exposed to them enough times. Then you just naturally you have them. So most students that I had were struggling because they weren't getting enough repetitive practice with them, but they knew them from songs and commercials and felt much more confident, with them in that way. And so that's why what Chuck said about practice builds accuracy, accuracy builds confidence, confidence builds fluency. For example, I had a student where I said the word always during class, and she said Coca-Cola very quickly. And because always Coca-Cola it's not a natural collocation, but it was in commercials that she was hearing and seeing on the bus. And what I'm trying to do in my songs is give students so much exposure to these collocations that they have them naturally and in their brains. That's through the practice.
Yeah.
And if they have them, then they feel confident and will use them, and that's the fluency. So back to your question, I think most people, if we define fluency as being able to, express what we want to express,
Yeah.
of course, with some mistakes, understand what we want to understand, not everything perfectly, but if to have fluency in this way, confidence is absolutely key. And most people don't have that confidence. They're struggling to, study so much, and they're worrying so much about, how good their English is, how bad their English is.
Yeah.
I think if we follow Chuck's model, and we do a lot of repetitive practice with interesting, engaging material, watching, listening to music, watching videos, reading things for pleasure,
Yeah.
then we will naturally get to fluency via the confidence that comes from accuracy, and that comes from all of the exposures, the practice.
Thank you. Yeah, I really like that. And I went to your webinar you had a few weeks ago, and you talked about an interesting idea, and it was the difference between studying, practicing, and using English. Could we maybe talk about this more?
Yes. No, thank you for asking, and it connects directly with what your last question and what I said about accuracy and fluency, and why so many people struggle to achieve fluency. So most time that learners spend on English or other languages, but we're talking about English here, the time they spend is learning about the language. And what I mean when I say learning about, this is, you know, reading a grammar explanation. This is looking at a list of vocabulary. Sometimes it's really interesting stuff that's shared in social media. So, a meme, an infographic,
Yeah.
some really clear, maybe even funny explanation of something about English.
Yeah.
The most, traditional thing would be, material in a textbook that they're trying to understand or remember. So to me, this is not practice, because this is more trying to understand it, study it. Now, if you take that, for example, information in a chart, let's say, let's take a very easy example. So, make and do collocations. So we have,
Okay.
make money, make a profit, make the bed, make noise. And then we have do laundry, do a good
Yeah.
deed, do your best. So this is all great stuff. The learner, the student wants that in his or her brain to
Yeah.
be able to use it.
Correctly. Yeah.
So accurately and fluently, how do we get from A to B? How do we get from studying, from learning about the language, this great list of vocabulary, to using it in real situations? So what's missing is practice. And when I say practice, I do not mean, talking with a conversation partner. Talking with somebody in English is, in the way I'm explaining this difference, using English. So once again, we're talking about the difference between learning about English, practicing English, and using English. So many people feel if they study enough, in other words, learn about English enough, then they can go out and use it.
Yeah.
Or they can use it in the classroom, so in an activity. Because I would say a classroom activity is also using English. If it's a communicative activity, creating a dialogue or doing something where you're using what you've learned. The problem is usually you haven't learned it. And what I mean is, it's not in your head to just use naturally, to use with accuracy, to use with fluency. And that's because you haven't repeated it enough. You haven't read it enough times. You haven't heard it enough times. You haven't said it enough times. And early on in this interview, I mentioned what inspired me is my students were not getting enough repetitive practice, but repetitive practice is usually boring or stressful, not contextualized. we're just going to repeat make and do collocations over and over again, or with flashcards.
Yeah.
So that's not motivating for most people, and it's not going to help. Um, so the missing piece, so let's say students who are able to be fluent and accurate and use English when they go to a store, or at a party, or in a business meeting. In almost every case, those students have had more practice, whether the practice comes from songs, reading, movies. So this is what I mean by practice. And getting repeated exposure to the language that they need and want to use.
Yeah.
So I have a song called Make or Do. So, that song, I've seen many, many people listen repeatedly to that song and watch the video repeatedly, and then are able to use the language from the song with high accuracy and fluency. Whether it's in an activity in the classroom where they're applying it, or it's in a real life situation.
Yeah, because I have practiced it enough times, like listen to it like 100 times, and then it's
yeah,
it's
and usually because they want to.
Yeah.
I mean, this actually happened the other day. A student I have an online practice program called the English Workout, and a student in our Facebook group from that program, in a chat we were having in our Facebook group, he just came out with a sentence naturally that was from a song of mine. And he knew it was too. I mean, he put it there, and then he's like, "Oh yeah, that's from your," so that's for me the ultimate goal is,
Yeah.
and it doesn't have to come from my song. It come from another song. It can come from a movie. It come from reading, but it comes when you need it, when you're using English. So let's say you're in a job interview, and you've gotten so much practice with specific expression or sentence that it just automatically comes when you want it to. That's what we're trying for.
Interesting. And so all of your experience, yeah, so you had with your students, and from your studies and everything you put together, and you use all of this to teach students at your workshops, right?
Yeah, well, I do a few different things, and I'll just quickly tell you, and then if you want to ask me,
Yeah,
one thing I
sure,
do
sure.
is I go to mainly middle schools and high schools, sometimes primary schools, sometimes universities, and do workshops with students where we practice with my songs and videos in big groups, usually between 100 and 300 students. I also do teacher training, uh, more traditional teacher development workshops, and also things related directly to my work with my songs and my materials. And I also have an online speaking and listening program called the Weekly English Workout. I just mentioned that. So I have students who I teach through social media, through a live class I have every Sunday, and through videos that I make for them. So those are the three things that I concentrate on.
Yeah, thank you. So the workshops you do like those are like offline workshops. You go to school, right? And there you teach students with your methods, right?
Yes, I do it in schools, but I've also started doing them online a little bit. Not for big groups, but for smaller groups in the virtual classroom. But yeah, almost always it's offline. It's going into a school and doing it.
Yeah, so there are like you mentioned 300 people, yeah, some for example,
Yeah, yeah.
and
Sometimes it's that big.
you meet there, and you maybe could you please describe in a brief, how does the workshop look like?
So I usually we're in a theater. Sometimes a really large classroom if it's a small group, but usually a theater at the school. Sometimes in the town So not in the school, but near the school. And I have a screen. I show slides and videos and play music through a sound system and engage the students in practice with the songs and the videos, and also humor, joking with them, giving them the opportunity to experience the materials that I have live, because before I come, usually they are using my songs and videos, sometimes in a structured way in their lessons. Sometimes they just seen my videos before I come, and then also afterwards. My goal is to inspire them, so that afterwards they're also they're following what I'm doing and using my materials, but also I hope have feeling more confident to go online in general and listen to music and watch music videos in English as a result of the experience they had at the workshop.
So you try to not just teach them English, but also to change their mindset, so they know that they can use different ways to get better in English, right?
Definitely, yeah.
Yeah, perfect. And I think the most of the listeners, I think the most would be interested in your online teachings and online courses. So maybe if you could tell us a bit more about your English workout. Yeah.
Yeah, great. I'd love to. So the weekly English workout has three components. So one is when you join, you receive what we call video workouts. So they are not live videos; they're videos you can watch anytime, but they are videos I create only for students in this program. So they are not like my YouTube videos. These are videos that include authentic conversations that I made with actors. So live. I mean, we're in coffee shops, we're on the street. So it's practice with conversational English, and then we watch those conversations, and then I explain a little bit. But the main thing is practice. So we do repetitive practice, with rhythm. We do chants, practice with songs and chants I've written that use the language. And those video workouts, when you join the program, you receive them for 4 weeks. Every other day, you get materials and exercises, audio exercises and PDFs and everything. That's all on my website. So that's one part of the program. The second part is a private Facebook group that is only for students in the program. So it's completely different from other places. Maybe people might have seen me because I'm on Facebook a lot in different groups. So it's different in the sense that I'm right there, and I have a lot of teacher friends that are right there to help directly with any question, any comment, anything, all the time. So we're very responsive. Plus, I put in every day we have different themes for different days. So we have Music Monday, Trivia Tuesday. We have different activities and things we do in that Facebook group. And the third thing is the live class, which is every Sunday. And I should mention that the Facebook group and the live classes are, once you join, you have these forever. It's lifetime membership. So you don't keep paying. It's not a membership program. You pay once, but you remain in the Facebook group for as long as you want, and in the live classes for as long as you want. You have lifetime membership. And the live class on Sunday is, since you can come anytime, any week, it's very relaxed, very flexible. You can come every week if you like. You can come once a month. You can watch the recording of the class if you're not there live. So yeah, it's a fun program. Anybody who's interested can contact me through my website. It's only open 4 times a year. So we have announcements on the site to talk about when the next one will be open. The next one probably going to open in around a month, maybe 2 months. So we're still planning that. But anybody who's interested, just please, on my website, there's a contact form. And just, I'd love to hear from your listeners anyway. So just say hello if you like. And if you're interested in the program, I can also tell you about it.
Yeah, all right. Perfect. Thank you very much, Jase.
Oh, thank you.
And so 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 we can maybe go to one of the final questions, and the
Okay.
question is, what would be your number one tip for English learners around the world?
My number one tip for English learners around the world is to, I'm going to be repeating myself, but to get repetitive exposure and practice in a fun way with the language you most want and most need to use in your life. So I'll say that again. And then I'll explain it. Get repetitive exposure and practice in a fun way with the English language, the phrases, the sentences that you most want and most need to use
Yeah,
in real life. So I've been talking about songs a lot, but let's talk about videos. So how about a movie that you love, and you know the movie well in your own language? Watch it in English, and
yeah,
watch certain scenes over and over again, and especially scenes where again there's language that you want to use,
yeah,
some phrasal verb, some expression, because if you're enjoying it and you repeat it and you understand it, then without trying, without I have to learn this, I have to study this,
yeah,
you will remember that language, and you'll remember it with high accuracy, and you'll use it with high fluency because you've repeated it so many times. And what I would say, that part of this tip is, do not feel badly, do not feel negatively if you can't remember something you think you should remember. You studied this. Why did I make a mistake? Why did this happen?
mm,
Don't feel badly, because of course this happened. You did not read it enough times. You did not hear it enough times. You did not listen to it enough times. It's not your fault. So the idea of, well, I understand this English, from studying it, from learning about it, I should be able to use it with accuracy and fluency. No, not until you get enough practice.
mm,
So, it's doing the practice in a fun way, and it's trying not to think negatively, because this
mm.
will make you more stressed, and your confidence will go down. This would be my number one tip.
Yeah, thank you very much, Jace. Perfect. Yeah, I totally
Yeah.
agree with you. I yeah, it's like yeah, I totally agree.
Good, I'm glad.
And where can people find more about you and your work?
The easiest thing is just my website, which is fluencyMC.com. So if
Hmm.
you remember my name,
Hmm.
Fluency MC, it's just fluencyMC.com. If you put Fluency MC in Google, you should get a list of places to find me that are the most useful, I think. So YouTube for my videos, Facebook. If you want to send me a message through Facebook or see what I'm doing on Facebook. I'm very active on Instagram and Facebook. Not as active on Twitter, but I am on Twitter as well. But all of this you could just access through my website. So I'd love it if your listeners went there, and you can send me. As I said, there's a contact form. It's just an email right to me.
Yeah.
So if you just want to say hi, you heard the interview and just want to say hello, or if you have a specific question, then please write to me. I love receiving messages, and I reply to everybody.
Oh, perfect. Thank you very much, Jace.
Oh, thank you so much.
Hey guys, this is Ivan again. Thank you very much for listening to our interview. I hope you had a great time. I would also like to thank Jace one more time for coming to the show and sharing his experience, knowledge, and energy with us. So thank you, Jace. And for all of you listening who found Jason's work inspiring and interesting, head on to his website. You can access it using a special affiliate link which we prepared with Jace for you shortly after the interview was recorded. The link is englishthesmartway.com/fluency MC. And that is spelled out englishthesmartway.com/FLUENCYMC. Again, englishthesmartway.com Fluency MC. And this link will lead you directly to Jason's free weekly English workout sample. When you sign up there for free, you will get 3 video workouts from Jason's exclusive speaking practice program. You will get access to live classes twice a month for a limited period. So you can come to Jason's live online classes to practice English with him and other students. And you will also get access to the Fluency MC songbook, which includes the lyrics to all 36 of Jason's songs you can listen to on his YouTube channel. So you can basically sing along Jason's songs and have some fun. So yeah, if you found this interesting, check out englishthesmartway.com/fluencymc and tell me what you think. Oh, and also, you can find all the show notes and links mentioned in this episode at englishthesmartway.com/session7. Again, englishthesmartway.com/session7. Alright, thanks again for listening and I wish you a very nice day. Enjoy English. Bye.